Okay, quiet please. Edric. Okay, quiet please. So today we're doing the multi-step equations. It was always intended we were going to take 2 days on this, but especially because of the way the field trips go. So, multi-step, since we spent 1 day on 1 step and another day on 2-step, multi-step must mean more than 2 steps, right? So it could be 3, it could even be 4 steps, but it's more than 2. And the quiz says TBD, but TBD right now means Friday. What does TBD stand for? To be determined, right? So one of the steps, like in the last one, could be combining like terms, and often is distributive property. So this would be an example of a multi-step equation. What do you think the first step is? Combine like terms, right? Remember, this has got to be like number 1. Always combine like terms on the same side before you start doing operations to both sides, right? Always. And how do you combine 8x minus 3x? Okay, what do you call the 8 and the 3? Coefficients. Good job. You add or subtract the coefficients. In this case is 8 minus 3, right? So that's 5x. So this will be 5x minus 10 equals 20. Now, I need you to pay attention because some of you are going to make this mistake and it's going to be wrong. Some do this. Plus 3x plus 3x. What's wrong with that? Samantha, you paying attention? Right? What did I just do wrong? Yeah, it's twice on the same side of the equal sign. I mean, you're kind of mixing up when you're trying to move terms side to side with combining like terms on the same side. So don't do that. Whatever you do, don't do that. Okay, now 5x minus 10 equals 20 is a 2-step equation. What are the 2 steps? Just tell me, add 10, divide by 5, right? Add 10. 5x equals 30, so x equals 6. So here's your U try. There's your first U try. Any terms to combine in this one, Samantha? What are the like terms? 9D and 2D. What are they, when you combine them, what are they? 7D. You're going to have to speak up, right? So combine these two, 7D. Okay, now it's 2-step. What are the 2 steps? Tell me both of them. Mike? Subtract 4? Then what? Then divide by 7. Okay, Hunter, Callie, don't talk. Got it? So subtract 4. 7D equals 28. Divide 7 equals 4. Okay, so this one requires distributive property. Okay, so how does distributive property work? Well, I mean, just look at the 2 times parentheses x plus 6. That's something we did on the last test, right? How do you do 2 times x plus 6? 2x and 2 times 6. So that is 2x plus 12. But you still have the 7x in front. And you still have the equals 39. Okay, any like terms to combine before I? So combine these two. 7x plus 2x is 9x. Okay. Okay, now it's a two-step equation. What are the two steps, Julian? Okay. Why isn't it what? Because it's 2 times x. Remember how this works, right? You multiply whatever's on the outside of the parentheses times both terms inside. What is 2 times x? 2x. Well, it's important because if you didn't quite get that, now's the time to get it, right? That's how distributive works. 2 times 6 is 12. Okay, now what are the two steps, Adam?
You would subtract 12 from both sides.
Then?
You would have 7x plus 2x equals 27.
No, go on this next line down. 9x equals 27, then what? Okay, so subtract 12, 9x equals 27. Divide 9, 3. Now, this is that one I don't think you would make many mistakes on. I think you'd probably get that one right. It becomes a little more difficult if it said this instead. So I just want to show it. What if instead of that, what if it said 7 plus 2 times x plus 6 equals 39? What would you do first? Lily? You would still distribute the 2. Okay, what would be wrong is that adding 7 plus 2. That is wrong, and we see that all the time, right? So you need to be paying attention to what I'm saying. When you make that mistake on a test, I'm going to say, you were sitting right here, right? So don't do that first. Okay. So now here's one for you to try that involves distributive property. 2w plus 3w plus 12. Combine like terms. 5w plus 12 equals 27. Subtract 12. 5w equals 15. Divide by 5, divide by 5, divide by equals 3. Right, so how many steps was that? That was actually 4 steps. Distribute, combine like terms, then plus a 2-step equation. Okay, try that one. Same, it's got a distributive involved, but it's also got negatives in there. Negatives that often trip us up. Distribute. Remember, distribute. Next what? Well, what do you call that? Combine like terms, right? 4x plus 10 equals 46. Right? Okay, subtract 10. Subtract 10. 4x equals 36. Divide 4. X equals 9. Pretty easy? Okay. Okay, now how's this problem different than what we already did? The fraction, right? So what would your instinct be in terms of how to solve that? What do you think you would want to do first? Okay, Edric is saying reciprocal. Who says distribute? You know, usually that's what students do. And I would not recommend to distribute, but I'm going to show it both ways. And you'll see why it's probably better to do like Edric said, which is multiply by the reciprocal, right? So now if I multiply 3 halves times 3x and 3 halves times 5, then you're going to have to actually do that operation. And usually we're not great with fractions. So what is 3/2 times 3? Say again? Yeah, remember, you just multiply straight across, and the 3 that's the coefficient of x doesn't have a denominator, so it's 1, so that makes it just 9/2, right? Plus, what is 3/2 times 5? 15/2 equals -24. So now 2 steps.
Good morning. Can I see Kaylee and guidance for a moment?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so what are the 2 steps that you have to do now? What are the 2 steps?
Yeah, subtract.
Subtract what?
15/2.
And then what?
And then divide.
Let's say divide by 9/2 or multiply by 2/9, right? So all of that requires operations with fractions, which make that harder, right? So let's go on to method 2, which is Edrich's method.
But could you also combine 15 and 9 to 24 if I had to get 12 and then it's 12 equals 24?
You know, could you do that? Yeah, you could, but it's operations with fractions. Notice what would have happened if we would have followed Edrich's suggestion. You know, normally, how do you get rid of a fraction which is multiplying? You multiply by the reciprocal. I mean, you could say divide by 3/2. That's not wrong, but how do you divide by 3/2? You flip and multiply. So the better step is multiply by 2/3 first step. Okay, on the left, 2/3 times 3/2 is 1, so we can drop it out of there. 3x plus 5. And then what is -24 times 2/3? Remember, you could put this in the calculator, right? Say again? -16, right? The 3 goes into 24 8 times. So it's -8 times 2, -16. So by doing that first step now, we don't have the complicated adding fractions with different denominators and that. It's much easier 2-step equation. So now what are the last 2 steps? Subtract 5. And then what? Divide by 3, divide by 3, x equals -7. So I would definitely recommend multiply by the reciprocal as the method you want to use. So you try to do that one right there. So what did I multiply by first? Multiply by the reciprocal. 4/3. 4/3. So these cancel. All I've got left is z minus 6. And then what is 12 times 4/3? So if you just put it in the calculator and let the calculator do all the work, 16, right? If you cancel 3 goes into 12, how many times? 4. And 4 times 4 is 16. Add 6. Now it's just a 1-step equation. So z equals 22. Okay, try this one. Right, so what's the reciprocal of -4/5? Yeah, it has to be negative. That's the point, right? It has to be that the product of the number and its reciprocal is +1. So multiply by -5/4 times -5/4. So the negatives cancel. The 4's and the 5's cancel. Now we got 4a minus 1 equals, what is 28 times -5/4? Negative 35, right? Everybody should get that because in the end you could just put it in the calculator. Okay, then two-step equation. Add 1. Negative 34. Divide by 4. And that is negative 17 over 2 if you leave it as a fraction, or decimal is negative 8.5. And then this is the last slide that you didn't have yesterday. So if you were here yesterday, you didn't see this. And you're going to get, I think, 2 problems like this in the homework. Where it says, find the value of x for the triangle. The perimeter equals 24. What does it mean, the perimeter of a shape? Right? It's the sides all added up, right? So there's one problem, like this is a triangle. I think another one in the book was a rectangle. But again, it's the same concept. It's everything added up. Okay, well, if everything added up equals 24, how do I add up all these expressions? Just add them up, right? X plus 4 plus 4x plus 10 times x minus 1. So that's the equation, right? If we add up all those things, that should be the perimeter, and they told us what the perimeter is. So now there's an equation that we should be able to solve. Definitely a multi-step equation. What would I do first to solve that? Distribute, correct. X plus 4 plus 4x plus 10x minus 10 equals 24. Okay, now what are all the like terms on the left side?
4x, 4, and 10x. And the x. So we get 4 and 4, 15, 16, 10, 26, 27x. What?
No, how many x terms? What are the x terms? X, 1x is there, 4 x's are there, and 10 x's are there. So what's the total number of x's? 15x. Okay, now what are the constant terms on the left side? Remember, constant means no variable. 4 minus 10, which is minus 6. Okay, and all of that equals 24. Okay, now we have a two-step equation. What are the last 2 steps? Add 6. 15x equals 30. So divide by 15. X equals 2. All right. So there are going to be homework problems like that. That was the lesson. So for those of you that were gone yesterday, this was the page 150 homework that you would have to do for tomorrow. And then in class tomorrow, you'll work on that homework. Okay? If you already did this homework, then you were working on that. So we'll go over that homework in class Friday, the second one. And that ought to answer any questions you have. Or if you have any questions on this one, we'll go over it.